Things that burn. Grass. When Cold Sun sent its servants to the Brass Coast, they were met with all the passionate fury the freeborn could muster. Defeated and scattered, the descendants of Erigo, Requesa, and Guerra breathed a sigh of relief. One that was proved a little premature when, mere weeks away from the autumn equinox, an army of scions emerged in Segura. The heralds struck fast and with a fury of their own, overwhelming the defenders of the barely established Ceravado nets, and stealing a bounty of Ilium for their own inscrutable reasons. As the equinox came to an end, the folk of the dry grasslands of Segura could only wonder at what the presence of that ominously named army might mean. The Fire Beacon. The Fire Beacon is in Burnish, an army of Cold Sun scions issued from an unnamed Regio somewhere in the northern hills. They burn with an unquenchable flame, and where they march they leave only ruin and ash. Their progress puts them on a direct line with the Sunsong Ranch, the largest settlement on the plains. It stubbornly resisted the Losambrians, but it seems defenceless against the forces of oblivion. Each archon of the Fire Beacon seems to bear an ember of oblivion at their heart. Where they march, flames leap and flicker, a cold blue aura burns around them. Where it touches the grass, the sparse trees, the terrified beasts of the plains, the abandoned homes, it begins to burn them all away. Life itself is an affront to the Fire Beacon, it seems. At night, the frigid ice-blue flames shimmer across the hilltops, stark against the dark skies, overwhelming starlight and moonlight alike. Pillars of smoke rise from burning settlements, and the wind that blows down from the hills is gritted with ash. It whispers of inevitable destruction, of a growing certainty that it is futile to resist. It chills the soul and makes even the bravest heart skip a beat. As news of the coming doom spreads across Segura, carried on the ashen wind and the terrible aurora over the hills, it kindles a kind of numb inevitability in the freeborn. This army of heralds might be the one final thing, the one dreadful thing that breaks the spirit of these unbreakable people. It would be easy to give in to despair, to fear that this is just another intimation of the end of the freeborn. How can passion, how can joy, how can hope endure against this unrelenting tide of oblivion? But hope still lives. As the Fire Beacon begins its inevitable approach to the Sunsong Ranch, to that place that has become for many a symbol of Seguran defiance, 2 imperial armies come to stop them. From distant Wintermark, the Fist of the Mountains approaches the unknown threat of Cold Sun cautiously, but alongside them blazes a fire to answer anything an Eternal might spark. The burning falcon roar into Segura, barely pausing to catch their breath before charging into the Scion's eastern flank. Alongside the Fist of the Mountains, a battalion of Thule war wizards, far from their northern home. Allies secured by diplomacy, the blue-clad orcs are accompanied by packs of lean, savage bear-wolves drawn from some eternal realm. There is an uneasy peace between them and the other warbands of Wintermark that accompany the Fist. They keep themselves apart, until battle is joined, when they unleash their beasts and their magic as furiously as any Steiner, Suak or Calavesi. The Burning Falcon have with them a host of elfin knights, in red and gold, armoured emissaries of the Sovereign of the Penance, called forth by the echoing horns of imperial magicians. There are also 24 heralds of the shadowed fire, accompanying the passionate freeborn warriors, and rousing them to face the twisted zeal of the Fire Beacon with the flame that burns in their own hearts. The servants of night, with midnight blue skin and raging crimson eyes and hair, avoid the knights of Eleonaris, who are more than happy to return the favour. They are always found where the fighting is thickest, battling beside the Kohan, urging them ever onwards. A few warriors have adopted their garb, scarlet robes over iron scales, with a sword in either hand. Mortal and unmortal alike, all revel in the opportunity to test themselves against the cold-hearted blue-flamed scions of day. The Falcon and their summer allies meet the fire beacon in the foothills. The speed and ferocity of their initial assault overwhelms the heralds. Yet Cold Sun's chosen soldiers are not foolish. They possess a supernatural clarity that allows them to react to circumstances with uncanny speed and effectiveness. Battle is joined, the smaller force compensating for the overwhelming numbers arrayed against them with cunning strategy and a unity of purpose the Freeborn and their Fey allies cannot quite match. It seems that they might hold their own, and battered but unbowed reach the fences of the Sung Song Ranch and shatter what the Lozambrians could never breach. The delay, though, buys time for the Fist of the Mountain to arrive, and while they may have resisted the Freeborn alone, they cannot stand against them when Wintermark fights by their side. 3 hours of vicious fighting, and the heralds are pushed back into the low rolling hills, back towards the Karaman borders. The peripatetic nature of the Freeborn of the Plains ensures that in the weeks before they reach Sunsong Ranch, the damage the Scions are able to cause is minimised. People flee rather than stand and burn. Buildings can be replaced much more easily than family. It's not possible to guess how many Scions fall to Freeborn Bouge, to Golden Greataxe, to the swords of Wintermark, to the wicked spells of Orkadov. The air becomes thick with ash and flickering embers as the fire beacon retreats. Scion and human and orc alike burned to nothing, to coarse ash on the winter winds. Game information, Segura. Exact numbers are difficult to calculate, but it seems the fire beacon has lost roughly half its strength to the combined might of the Burning Falcon and the Fist of the Mountains. The army remains in the territory for now, regrouping in Burnish, although it remains to be seen whether they remain here in the face of such passionate resistance. The destructive nature of the fire beacon means that any opposing campaign army or fortification that takes casualties from the army will break if their military strength falls below 1,500 or 2,250 if they are large. This represents the devastating effects of the cold blue flames that accompany the Scions of Cold Sun. An army that disbands will see many of its remaining soldiers eaten alive by cursed flame, while a fortification that collapses under their onslaught will leave nothing behind save an area of glass. There will be no opportunity to rebuild the fortification. Participation, Segura. Just as when the Burning Falcon fought the Jotun in Karaman after the spring equinox, any character whose military unit was assigned to fight alongside the army this downtime may choose to have been impacted by the experience of battling in close proximity to heralds of both Eleonaris and Yannon. If you possess hero points, you may choose to gain an additional temporary hero point which once spent is permanently gone. It will have faded entirely by the end of the winter solstice regardless.